I can begin by saying something about the United Kingdom's bilateral relationship with Algeria, because I think that does set the context for a British perspective on Algeria's relationship with the European Union. And let me begin by saying that we in the United Kingdom do have a positive bilateral relationship. But it is, in my view, one that needs to be nurtured, and we need to do much more to grow the confidence between our two countries. It is true to say that for too long we have regarded Algeria as the chasse gardée of our friends across the Channel. But I think that that is changing. When I last visited Algeria in 2005 and again in 2006 to talk to President Bouteflika, my interlocutors, both in the Foreign Ministry and in the Ministry of Justice, went out of their way to stress how important they felt it was to strengthen the bilateral relationship with the United Kingdom. They wanted that strength of relationship on the issues around justice, the legal system, the training of judges, the growth of civil society, and, of course, on more effort being put into learning the English language. And we in this country should never forget that that is, after all, our most successful export worldwide. Of course, later in 2006, Jack Straw, then our Foreign Secretary, met President Bouteflika in Algeria, and the President was, of course, the first Algerian President since the independence of 1963 to visit the United Kingdom in 2006, where, of course, he met the Queen and the then Prime Minister. In 2006, we also established an annual bilateral ministerial dialogue to put some positive and real effort into developing the trust and confidence needed on both sides. The first meetings were in Algiers, then in London in 2007, and Algiers again at the end of 2008. But this year, 2009, I think we can distinguish a real increase in the tempo of our exchanges in a very positive way. Lord Davis, our Trade Minister, chaired the inaugural meeting of the Trade and Investment Ministerial Dialogue in March 2009. The Duke of York visited in May this year, and General Serby, the Special Advisor on Counter-Terrorism in North Africa, is visiting Algeria this month, as is Bob Ainsworth. And of course, Lord West is going next month. And in December, we see Ivan Lewis, Minister of State, who will be chairing the fourth round of the ministerial dialogue. So there has been a real increase in ministerial and ministerial level exchanges over the course of 2009, building on the sorts of exchanges that there were in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think that that has established not only that there is interest, but that there is a real commitment to a proper dialogue, not just a series of disconnected meetings, but a proper dialogue on a consistent basis. I'm going to put trade on one side for a moment, and I want to just talk about briefly about four key areas. Counter-terrorism cooperation. We on our side would like a commitment to work in partnership to prevent the growing threat of terrorism in North Africa. And Algeria has become a really important partner in that endeavour. I think it is fair to say that if you ask anybody in our intelligence community, they will tell you that the relationship has broadened in what is covered and has deepened in what is now being spoken about with a greater sense of confidence between two intelligence communities. On migration, second point, Algeria is an enormously important country to the United Kingdom's migration agenda. Our main focus, of course, has been in returning Algerian prisoners, and that, for the sake of completeness, was indeed the subject of my initial meetings with President Bouteflika in 2005-2006. And we also, of course, are looking at making agreed targets for a failed asylum seeker. So the fact is that Algeria is a major source of irregular migration, and it is a transit country for trafficking from Central and Western Africa. So cooperation on those issues is absolutely crucial to United Kingdom issues, to our United Kingdom interests. Thirdly, and very obviously, the energy relationship. one aspect of the bilateral relationship which has become increasingly clear over the last few years is that Algeria has, of course, very significant gas reserves, and they are going to play an increasingly important role in the United Kingdom's energy security. It has the largest natural gas resources in Africa and is now, of course, a major exporter of oil and gas. And this output will continue to grow and makes Algeria a key partner in our search for the security of our energy supplies. There is, of course, there's the joint venture between BP and Sonatrach, where Algeria is supplying the LNG through the Isle of Grain, and it's currently the United Kingdom's second largest supplier of liquid natural gas. It's likely by the end of next year that Algeria will be supplying this country with 10% of our gas needs. And as many of you will be aware, there is an important internal debate within Algeria about the respective roles of the home-based energy companies and the big international energy companies and consortia. There is, I think, a wider debate going on not just in Algeria, but very particular in some of the sources of supply in Africa, about the balance that is being struck between producing energy for the countries themselves internally and earning the much needed revenue by prioritising exports. I had a very interesting discussion only yesterday evening with one of the key players in Nigeria on this very issue. It is a sensitive, it is a difficult issue, but it is one that needs to be addressed. And of course, we are also looking at a bilateral energy MOU, which we hope to sign with Algeria shortly, on the security of energy supply, which will reinforce the bilateral relationship. And the last thing I want to talk about on the bilateral front is defence. And I think most people wouldn't necessarily think of Algeria as a key defence partner if they were thinking about that in the round. But the fact is that Bob Ainsworth, our Secretary of State for Defence, has been in Algeria to conclude a bilateral defence accord, leading to a memorandum of understanding, and that is all about the training that can be offered to Algerian forces in country. So, having dealt with the bilateral side, let's look now at how our perspective of our bilateral relationship impacts upon our perspective of Algeria's relationship with the European Union. First of all, I think that a number of countries with which the EU has a special relationship, Algeria might be thought to have an ambivalent perspective. Algeria does not want the EU to extend into northern Africa. I think the Algerians are rather more concerned about how they engage in these close associations, the old Barcelona process or the newer union of Mediterranean countries. Because I get the impression that our friends in Algeria are very keen to maintain complete control over their own development process, and quite right too. There is, I think, an increasing sense of unrest among countries with whom the European Union is trying to negotiate partnership agreements or association agreements, that we in the EU use these agreements to impose, or to try to impose, our own beliefs about how countries should be developing in terms of their democracy, in terms of civil society and human rights. I see this very clearly in the Gulf states, which I visit very frequently, almost every month. And I think there is a shared sense in the broader Arab world and North African region that we in Europe talk very big about partnership, but that actually we use such agreements to impose our own worldview on those with whom we are negotiating.